A swordsman understood something most people never learn at all. The man who wins a confrontation is rarely the strongest or the fastest. He is the one who is still holding his own mind when everyone else has dropped theirs. Anger arrives, fear arrives, the urge to answer immediately arrives. None of them has to hold the sword. Miyamoto Musashi fought 60 times against men who had spent their entire lives training to kill. He was not the fastest. Against the finest swordsman of his age, he was, by most accounts, outmatched. He never lost. Everyone explains this the same way. They speak of his calm, his stillness, the composure no opponent could get past. Almost nobody asks what the calm was for, because Musashi was not protecting his own composure. He was hunting yours. Every duel he fought twice, once with a blade and once beforehand, against a temperament he had already studied and already understood. That is the difference between a philosophy and a weapon. You have felt the other side of it. Somebody says the thing, and your jaw tightens before the sentence has finished. Your chest closes. The answer leaves your mouth in 4 seconds, and it is the wrong answer, and you are still rebuilding it at 2 in the morning 3 days later. That is not weakness. That is a body doing precisely the job it was built for, in a room where that job has no use. The samurai did not train to stop feeling. He trained so that feeling would not be the thing holding the sword. There is a morning that shows exactly what this looked like. April 1612, a small island and a shoreline crowded with people who came to watch a legend. Kojiro is already there, the finest technical swordsman in the region. His reach is famous. He has brought officials and witnesses, and he has arranged the audience himself. Musashi does not come. An hour passes, then another. And the man on the shore stands in front of the crowd he invited, feeling something leave him minute by minute that no amount of standing still will bring back. The lateness was not rudeness. It was the first cut, and it was made before Musashi was on the water. When the boat finally arrives, he looks like a man who has just woken, unwashed, unhurried. And in his hand is not a sword, but a length of wood, carved from the boat's own oar on the crossing. Longer than Kojiro's famous blade, by a margin that was measured and deliberate. Kojiro tears the scabbard from his sword and throws it into the sea, a gesture for the crowd. He will not need it again, and Musashi, still stepping out of the boat, says the only thing he needs to say. If you have no more use for your scabbard, you have already lost. The duel was over before either man moved. Everyone tells that story as proof of Musashi's calm. It is not. Look at what was actually done. One man was studied. His pride was found to be structural rather than decorative, and every element of that arrival, the hour, the state of him, the wooden sword, the sentence, was shaped to press on precisely that. Composure is not a peaceful state, it is ground, and whoever holds it decides what happens on it. 4 things build that ground. They are usually taught in the wrong order, beginning with self-control in the moment, which is the 3rd thing that happens. By then, 2 chances have already gone. This is the order they arrive in. The first is the sentence. Before anything that mattered, Musashi knew what it was for. One thing, not a list of acceptable outcomes. 1. Without it, a conversation eats itself. 2 minutes in, something unfair is said, and you are defending yourself. 4 minutes in, a thing from 3 years ago appears, and you are arguing about the past. 6 minutes in, you are correcting a misquote. Nobody took that conversation from you. You handed it over, one piece at a time. Every time something was thrown, and you reached for it. So the sentence is decided before the door opens, not what will be said, what must be true at the end, that is not true now. And the sentence does not make a man rigid, it makes him generous. Once you know what you came for, everything else becomes tradable. They can have the small point because the small point was never the objective. The misrepresentation can stand because correcting it costs more ground than it wins. The provocation can sit there untouched because it is bait, and bait only works on the hungry. The people who seem unshakable in a difficult room are seldom unusually calm. They are simply uninterested in most of what is happening. The second is the reed. Musashi did not study swords. He studied the men holding them. How a body stands when it is afraid. How a grip changes in the half-second before a decision becomes a movement. How impatience travels outward from the chest before it ever reaches the hands. This is remembered as instinct. It was not instinct. It was years of watching, and the patience to keep watching after the answer seemed obvious, because people are far less unpredictable than they feel. Under pressure, almost everyone narrows to 2 or 3 responses they have used their whole life. The one who goes silent when criticized will go silent again. The one who attacks when cornered will attack again. The one who makes a joke when accountability arrives will reach for the joke every time. Every opponent works from a small library. Read the library and the book is legible before it opens. 30 seconds is enough. What state is this person in before I arrive? What do they want underneath what they will say they want? And what are the 2 or 3 ways this goes if nobody steers it? That is not manipulation. It is the removal of surprise. And surprise is what starts the collapse. The chemistry arrives before the thought does. Vision narrows. Thinking stiffens at the exact moment it needs to bend. And the ones who unbalance you most reliably are never strangers. They are people you have known for years. You hold more information about them than about anyone alive, and they still land every time because you have been reading them with your feelings instead of your eyes, recording how they make you feel rather than what they reliably do. The third is the gap. Now the moment is here, and this is where most teaching begins. It turns on 3 words. Not I am angry. I notice I am feeling angry. I am angry is a description of a self. There is no room inside it. The man has become the thing, and when a man is his anger makes every decision that follows. I notice I am feeling angry places a person and a feeling in the same sentence as 2 separate objects. Small, and the whole of a life can turn in that space. The science arrived 4 centuries late and agreed. Naming a feeling as it happens quiets the alarm and returns the thinking mind to the room. Nothing is suppressed. Only the position changes, from the man the storm is happening to the man watching it pass through. The proof is already yours. 2 hours afterwards, when the blood has settled, you know exactly what should have been said. It arrives complete, unasked for, perfectly formed. That thinking was present the whole time. What was missing was the room for it to reach you. The gap does not make a man wiser. It returns the wisdom he already had. The 4th is the breath. It comes last, because it is what remains when the other 3 have already failed. And they will fail. A man walks in prepared, and something lands in the first 90 seconds that takes the preparation apart faster than it was built. Musashi wrote that a swordsman's breathing changes before his technique does. Shallow, fast, high in the chest, and then the movements lose their edge, the timing drifts, and the body begins deciding things the mind should have decided. He noticed the road runs in both directions. Change the breath, and you change what follows it. In through the nose for 4, out through the mouth for 6. The exhale outlasting the inhale is the entire mechanism, and everything else about it is decoration. It works when nothing else does, because it asks nothing of the mind. At the end of a long day, when discipline is spent and every good intention has been used up, the breath is still there and still free. He described it as a returning, not an arriving. You come back to it as often as needed, and the returning is the practice, not the holding. There is something else about this man that is rarely said. Much of what is told about Musashi was written by a novelist 300 years after he died. It ran in a newspaper for 4 years, and it is the source of nearly all the personality. The wandering, the romance, the wise Ronin who finds peace at the end. The record itself is thinner and stranger. The book he left is real. He wrote it in a cave in the last weeks of his life. But a man who opens it expecting philosophy will close it disappointed. It is mostly a technical manual. Angles, footwork, how to face several men at once. The famous lines have been cut out of a document that is largely instructions for killing. The 60 duels are his own count. No other hand recorded them. And still the 4 things work. They work because judgment genuinely fails under pressure. Because human beings genuinely repeat themselves. Because naming a feeling genuinely changes what the brain does with it. Because a long exhale genuinely changes the body it leaves. None of that needs the legend. The legend is only the vessel. He was not a happy man, no wife, no children. He refused positions and turned away patrons, and he ended alone in a cave writing about combat, and died there. The composure was real. So was the price. Anyone offering the first without mentioning the second is selling something, so the 4 remain. Decide the sentence before the door opens. Read the man in front of you with your eyes and not your feelings. When the heat rises, put 3 words in front of it. And when all of that comes apart, breathe out longer than you breathed in and begin again from wherever you are standing. The storm is not the enemy. It arrives for everyone, and it always will. The only question is who is holding the sword while it passes.